This was made by Thor, your grandfather, Thorin. It is a plan of the mountain. I don't see that this will help us much. I remember the mountain well enough, and the lands about it, and I know where Markwood is, and the withered heath where the great dragon's bred."
"There is a dragon marked in red on the mountain, but it will be easy enough to find him without that if ever we arrive there."
"There is one point that you haven't noticed, and that is the secret entrance. You see that rune on the west side, and the hand pointing to it from the other runes? That marks a hidden passage to the lower halls. It may have been secret once, but how do we know that it is a secret any longer? Old Smog has lived there long enough now to find out anything there is to know about these caves. He may, but he can't have used it for years and years. Why? Because it is too small. 5 feet high the door, and 3 may walk abreast, says the runes. But Smog could not creep into a hole that size, not even when he was a young dragon. Certainly not after devouring so many of the dwarves and the men of Dale. It seems a great big hole to me. How could such a large door be kept secret from everybody outside apart from the dragon?" "In lots of ways, but in what way this one has been hidden we don't know without going to see. From what it says on the map, I should guess there is a closed door which has been made to look exactly like the side of the mountain. That is the usual dwarves' method. I think that is right, isn't it?" "Quite right. Also, I forgot to mention that with the map went a key, a small and curious key. Here it is. Keep it safe." "Indeed I will. Now things begin to look more hopeful. This news alters them much for the better. So far we have no clear idea what to do. We thought of going east as quiet and careful as we could, as far as the Long Lake. After that, the trouble would begin. A long time before that, if I know anything about the east. We might go from there up along the river running, and so to the ruins of Dale, the old town in the valley there under the shadow of the mountain. But we none of us like the idea of the front gate. The river runs right out of it through the great cliff at the south of the mountain, and out of it comes the dragon too, far too often unless he has changed his habits. That would be no good, not without a mighty warrior, even a hero. I tried to find one, but warriors are busy fighting one another in distant lands, and in this neighborhood heroes are scarce or simply not to be found. Swords in these parts are mostly blunt, and axes are used for trees, and shields for cradles or dish covers, and dragons are comfortably far off, and therefore legendary. That is why I settled on burglary, especially when I remember the existence of a side door. And here is our little Bilbo Baggins, the burglar, the chosen and selected burglar. So now let's get on and make some plans. First, I should like to know a bit more about things. I mean, about the gold and the dragon and all that, and how it got there, and who it belongs to, and so on, and further." "Bless me, haven't you got a map? And didn't you hear our song? And haven't we been talking about all this for hours?" "All the same, I should like it all plain and clear. Also, I should like to know about risks, out-of-pocket expenses, time required, and remuneration, and so forth." By which he meant, what am I going to get out of it? And am I going to come back alive? "Oh, very well. Long ago, in my grandfather Thor's time, our family was driven out of the far north, and came back with all their wealth and their tools to this mountain on the map. It had been discovered by my far ancestor, Thrain the Old, But now they mined, and they tunneled, and they made huger halls and greater workshops. Anyway, they grew immensely rich and famous, and my grandfather was king under the mountain again, and treated with great reverence by the mortal men who lived to the south, and were gradually spreading up the running river as far as the valley overshadowed by the mountain. They built the merry town of Dale. There in those days, kings used to send for our smiths, and reward even the least skilful most richly. Fathers would beg us to take their sons as apprentices, and pay us handsomely, especially in food supplies, which we never bothered to grow or find for ourselves. Altogether, those were good days for us, and the poorest of us had money to spend and to lend, and leisure to make beautiful things just for the fun of it, not to speak of the most marvellous and magical toys, the like of which is not to be found in the world nowadays. So my grandfather's halls became full of armour and jewels and carvings and cups, and the toy market of Dale was the wonder of the north. Undoubtedly that was what brought the dragon. Dragons steal gold and jewels, you know, from men and elves and dwarves, wherever they can find them, and they guard their plunder as long as they live, which is practically forever unless they are killed, and never enjoy a brass ring of it. Indeed, they hardly know a good bit of work from a bad, though they usually have a good notion of the current market value, and they can't make a thing for themselves, not even mend a little loose scale of their armour. There were lots of dragons in the north in those days, and gold was probably getting scarce up there, with the dwarves flying south, or getting killed, and all the general waste and destruction that dragons make going from bad to worse. There was a most specially greedy, strong, and wicked worm called Smog. One day he flew up into the air and came south. The first we heard of it was a noise like a hurricane coming from the north, and the pine trees on the mountain creaking and cracking in the wind.